This is a new digital economy, and it's an emerging market, and it's the fastest growing market we've ever seen. Opening up a market that had much higher rates of return and absorbed huge amounts of capital over time. And I think crypto will absorb huge amounts of capital over time.
Unlocking the future, Raoul Pal breaks down Bitcoin ETF approval in crypto landscape. The crypto community is buzzing with excitement as the Bitcoin ETF finally gets the green light. Yet, the anticipated massive bull run might not be an instant occurrence. In this insightful video, Raoul Pal takes the reins to review the ETF approval's nuances and its impact on the crypto space, particularly Ethereum and Solana. Raoul shares a compelling perspective, emphasizing that a parabolic move won't happen overnight. Instead, he highlights the importance of a gradual market buildup as information and acceptance evolve, drawing more participants into the crypto realm. As the market weaves through crypto summer, Raoul anticipates a surge in Bitcoin ETF investments, especially as inflation eases. The Bitcoin ETF is seen as a pivotal step in the migration from fiat to digital currency. Raoul delves into the significance of major companies such as BlackRock, Fidelity, ARK Invest, etc., revealing a dual existence with both fiat and digital currency structures. In this video, you get the key insights of the ETF approval. Understanding the gradual impact of Bitcoin ETF approval on market dynamics. Explore the influence of Ethereum and Solana in the evolving crypto landscape. Raoul's perspective on the crypto market entering a phase of crypto summer. Also, guys, only a small percentage of my viewers actually subscribe. If you enjoy staying up to date with finance content, consider subscribing or liking the video. It's free and you can always change your mind. Let's get into the video as Raoul provides clarity on these crucial developments. Let's join him in deciphering the future of crypto investments, the role of ETFs, and the potential for an Ethereum ETF on the horizon.
ETF, hell yeah, that was a bit of justification. I've explained it before. How I think of this is in two terms. One is anybody who was an investor in Bitcoin in 2011-12 was like a Series A investor. 2013 cycle, maybe Series B. 2015, 16, Series C. The last cycle, Series D. We've just IPO'd it. And usually when IPOs happen in strong markets like this, it reminds me a lot of the late 90s. And I was trading a lot then. I was at Goldman as well then. And what you found is after the IPO, it would launch and it would be choppy as hell for a while. Sometimes it would sell off quite sharply. Facebook sold off really sharply as people took profits, repositioned. Now, don't forget, a lot of people have front run this ETF. So they're going to want to unwind. Many of those are going to switch to ETH that I've talked about before. They think, rightly so, that ETH is the most likely candidate for the next ETF. And if Bitcoin went up 100% because of this ETF, ETH will go up 300% because it's less liquid, put the same amount of money in. Also, there's a lot of people unwinding the GBTC Arbitrage, closing that position, selling out, moving into a different ETF. There's a lot of shenanigans going on. And you can see that with the net flows. There was 4.5 billion or whatever of total flows. The net flows are much smaller, 700 million or so. It's still the biggest ever ETF launches in history. And I want you to understand how this works is, okay, all of the pre-orders have now been filled. That was all of these ETF providers going to all of their clients, begging them, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. Everyone's done that. Sure, there'll be some follow-on next week. A lot of the GBTC guys are unwinding, and that will go, some will wait a few days, see if the market is stronger, whatever. So that goes on for a while. You've then taken forward or brought forward a lot of demand. By the end of it, maybe it's 1 billion, maybe it's 2 billion of demand you'll have brought forward. So then who's the buyer? You've got the people who front ran this who want to sell. So you're going to see volatility. And I've always reminded you guys in the do not fuck it up mantra, part of that is expect 30, 35% pullbacks, could be less, but just expect them. And that often happens when you get to this kind of 61.8% Fibonacci level in the first leg of the bull run. It often corrects sharply, people get washed out, leverage is cleared out, and then the real run starts. And the real run is the run to all-time highs and beyond. That usually starts around the halving. So I'm guessing there's maybe a month or two of chop. And chop in crypto markets is like down 30%. It's just sideways chop. I could be wrong, could keep sailing higher, but it just feels like it's trading a bit heavy. And even if it does as a spurt higher, I don't think it makes much progress yet. But this ETF, it's going to attract people because the markets have been strong. Last year, crypto, Bitcoin itself was 160%, right? That doesn't go unnoticed, considering even the NASDAQ managed 50%. So it's like 3x the NASDAQ. But let's start with the RIAs, the investment advisors and the financial advisors. Those guys aren't on Twitter. They have no idea what any of this is going on. All the drama that played out and the false tweet and all of that shit, that total goat rodeo, they don't know any of this. The first they will hear about this is when they pick up Barron's on Saturday morning with a cup of coffee. And they'll go, oh, a Bitcoin ETF. And Barron's will probably have some cynicism in the article, let's assume. And they're like, well, that's interesting, but I'm not sure it's for my clients. And they go about their business, and then they go and see Jack, their big client, on the golf course that weekend. And Jack says, hey, what do you think of the Bitcoin ETF? And the RIA will repeat what he read in Barron's and what he saw on Fox News. He's based in, let's call it Cincinnati, Ohio. And Jack will ask him, and he'll feel a little bit silly. Maybe next week, he starts reading a few more articles and a few more positive things come out. Then he starts thinking, maybe I should do something about this. And a couple of other clients ask him. And eventually, he goes and has his steak dinner with his other friend, Mark, who runs the tire franchise in Cincinnati. And Mark's got tons of money and he's a bit racy and likes investments like this. And before you know it, he starts building an order book and getting his clients in. He can see they're interested. He's incentivized by the sales process and the commissions. And before you know it, he's mobilized. It's the same with all the RIAs. This takes time. They're not smiling on, oh my God, there's a Bitcoin ETF out. Let's all go. It doesn't work like that. It's a relationship business built over time. And this is, all across the United States. It's not New York City in a dealing room. It's a very different world out there. So that's why it takes time. It's the same with any of the institutions who might be thinking about it. Some fund manager who thinks I can sneak it into my portfolio now and not tell my risk manager that I've got crypto. I'll just sneak it in as an equity and hope they don't find out. Same with hedge funds. So that's all to come. And that's why there tends to be this gap. So that's how I'm thinking about it right now. Also, my view, and I've made this very clear, is Solana's my favorite horse in the race of the big ones. I think the first phase is always Bitcoin outperforming. Next is Ethereum. It's at this point in the cycle when the global liquidity turns higher. When global liquidity turns higher and you've got a catalyst like the ETH ETF, it'll start picking steam. We saw that last couple of days. It was like, wow, okay, ETH is really trying to outperform. I think it bottomed on the massive ETH wedge chart that I put on Twitter yesterday. And I think it will continue higher over time. And I think ETH massively outperforms Bitcoin for the rest of this cycle. So that's the kind of flow, is Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, with Solana at the top of the pie. That's the crypto idea number one. You may have heard me talk about is the IPO idea. Yes, it's nice. It gives us some guidance of how these things trade contextually. But really, this is a trade deal between fiat world and crypto land. And it's a trade deal because the capital that's flowing into crypto land is not permanent residency. These are not migrants. If you remember, population growth, GDP growth is population growth plus productivity growth plus debt growth. This is not population growth coming into crypto land. That has to be new wallets and actual self-custody or on crypto exchanges and all of that stuff. This is a trade deal to allow TradFi Land, our RIA in Cincinnati, to get his clients across into this new world that has higher rates of return. The best example of this I can give you is China entering the WTO. That was a classic example of opening up a market that had much higher rates of return and absorbed huge amounts of capital over time. This is speculative hot money flows into this new economy. And one day it'll wash out again too. So be careful of that. While we want to encourage them, while it's going to help our ecosystem grow, while it's going to create more capital, more opportunities, it'll move your bag as well. This is not permanent residency in our world. And so, yes, we welcome them with open arms, but remember, what we really want is a new financial system being built. Now, interestingly, you saw Larry Fink talking today on CNBC, I think it was. Not that I watch CNBC, but firms like BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, Fidelity, these are currently, you think of these as fiat world companies that have set up offices in crypto land, much like many businesses like Apple set up in China. But what Larry's talking about is the migration, the eventual migration of the financial system into crypto land, which was my core thesis when I first found Bitcoin in 2012, and has remained my thesis of where this is all going, amongst many of the other opportunities. So it's really interesting when you think of it in economic terms. These are economies. This is a digital economy of crypto land that has other states within it, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, whatever it may be. So that becomes very interesting. And you can think of, even within that, you've got, interoperable systems, stuff like whether it's Polkadot or Quant or a whole bunch of these things allow, or Chainlink, interoperability. That's the travel, the border crossing from going from one of these nation states to another. We've got immigration, which is us opening wallets. We've got FDI, which is VC. We've got trade deals, which is hot money flows chasing opportunities within a country, which is the ETF. This is a new digital economy, and it's an emerging market, and it's the fastest growing market we've ever seen.